Okay, so that was stupid. Sorry, remind me never to do that again. Never to stop the stream halfway through. So I was trying to go from Wi-Fi to Ethernet, and we went offline. I just got a text message. Thanks very much, Mark, for texting in that went offline. I was trying to go from Wi-Fi to Ethernet. Hopefully that would improve the 1080p thing there, which was stupid. Never stop a live stream halfway through. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody there. Sorry about that. Can everybody hear me now? Let's see. Who else we got? CH Development says, some of your first videos of yours, I watched the replays of the live streams. Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. Fist007 says you should ask for likes and subscribes in the daily videos. Yeah, Fist007. I've been to I've had YouTube consults. Like I've been to YouTube offices and had like a consultant tell me you need to ask for subscribers and likes early in the video, and I just always forget. And I just need to make it a habit. I say I need to make it a habit, but I've done it maybe 3 times in the hundreds. We've done like 800 or 900 videos or something so far, and I've only done it a few times, so I need to do it here. So sorry, Dynamic Apps, if you've been here before. Okay, so let's see. Sony, hey, how's it going? UD, hi Eric. My client wants to develop a gambling app. Any tips for app submissions or anything else? It's funny, we had a conversation about that this week in the office about gambling apps, because I'm not sure about. I'm not sure like the legality of it. I know they're allowed gambling apps, but I would say in terms of app submissions, you should be okay. But that's one of those things where gambling apps, it's dependent on which country it's in, I think. And I would say do it as a. I'm not a fan of Ionic anymore, like I used to be, but I would say this would be a good candidate for using something like that, as long as the security is good with it. Because then if you need to go the PWA route, like let's say for some reason Apple doesn't approve it because they change one of their rules or whatever, or Google decides to deny it for some reason, more likely it would be Apple. And even though it's legal now, let's say it's not legal in a short while, or they come up, they change their rules or something, then at least you have the PWA route to go through and you have that thing. So I mean, that's one thing you might want to think about, UD, in that direction. In fact, we've been talking about that a lot lately in the office. Do we go the PWA route in some of these things? So let's see. YouTube says live stream is about to start. You guys can hear me all right? Let's see. So I broke the live stream. Okay, so so yeah, UD, I would say go Ionic on that one, or go Ionic. Even if you went Flutter, every time I talk about Flutter, somebody says, well, Hummingbird's going to support web and PWA soon, but so far I haven't seen anything there yet. It's almost like we're hoping that Hummingbird's going to be good, but we don't really know that much yet. So Frank Diogo Cavalcante says, hi Eric, can you say how long to take an Apple approve an app on the Apple Store? Lately, so I did a video on this week, I think, where I talked about, where I showed that they said like 40% or 50% of all apps are approved within the first day now. And I've been finding that. It's amazing how quick they are. Whereas it used to be waiting 10 days. And now, I mean, we've had some apps take a few days. And it's always that where they're not quite sure. What I think it is they have to escalate it. Maybe there's something they need to escalate it up a little bit. Sometimes we get rejections, so we have to go through and mess about with that. But most of the time, it's like the same day or the next day, or 3 days at the outset. But sometimes you get that a bit longer. I mean, because it is a human doing it, that makes it a bit difficult. Let's see. So DevCode, hey, how's it going? Let's see. I've already gone through this. Okay, so El Cyro, how's it going? Fist007 says you should make it part of your jingle. See, I wouldn't call it a jingle. A jingle's musical, isn't it? Fist007. I thought about doing a jingle like, it's the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. But, there's nothing too cool about that. So, yeah. Let's see. What do we have? Let's see. Julio, hey, how's it going? Sony says, do you build apps natively or cross-platform? The preference, Sony, the preference for me is always go cross-platform. Always go cross-platform unless unless we can't. Now, sometimes we're working with outsourced developers, and sometimes we'll go native just because. But you know, you have to double the you have to double the development cost. You have to double the testing. So a lot of times, like if I'm doing an Ionic app or if the developer's doing an Ionic app, a lot of the testing I'll do in the browser on the machine, which is not the final testing, but it is that iterative testing. Like if you're doing, see for me, like if I'm doing testing, like I just need to do end-to-end full testing, that should be done on a device. That's where you find out memory leaks. That's where you find out if anything's sluggish. That's where you get off your machine, where you have all this power onto a mobile device and see how it works, and also rendering in different sizes and everything. But if you're just doing like, you know, I'm moving this thing over a few pixels at a time, or I'm checking database connectivity, or I just want to run some different queries. For me, that kind of stuff is not worth every single time loading it onto a device. And that makes it hard with native. And this is one of the things I find with a very slow native experience whenever I do native development. And I do it from time to time. And I normally use something like Genymotion. So Genymotion has been around for a while. And it uses a video. God, what is it? No. I'm blanking. The VirtualBox. It uses VirtualBox instead of the ADB thing. So that makes it a little bit faster running through Genymotion. But they've got some weird licensing there. I think I've got the personal version of it from years ago, and I think they keep raising the price of that thing. So, but that's something that at least it makes it a little bit faster. And I know you've got that faster loading on Android, but I haven't actually seen that. One of the things I really like about cross-platform, and again, cross-platform is, I mean, that could be, cross-platform could be Xamarin, it could be Corona, it could be whatever, but when I think about, say, like React Native or Flutter or Ionic even, you can do that live reload on the device, and it makes it, apparently we've got a bunch of people waiting for the live stream to start. So I'm getting it. I think because I stopped it and started it again, I think some people are still waiting for it to start. I hope they find it. I think we might have two separate instances of the live stream going on. Let's see. I don't know how to go through and find if anybody's waiting someplace else, but I guess getting a text from somebody saying it still says waiting for the live stream to start. So hopefully that's okay. So Mark, if you're out there, if you hear me, put it in the comments, please, so I know that you can see it, and it's not just a slow SMS message. Let's see. DevCode says, I've realized my game on Android, and I will be happy if you give me your opinion of it and tell me what I need to update on it. Sure, let's have a look at it. Sony says, I'm an advocate for native all the way. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's the thing, you cannot go wrong with native, and I totally get that. It's like you're going for, I mean, you're spending more time, you're spending more money, but you're also making sure that if something changes on what the platform, they should be able to cater for it. I know that if iOS 13 has some breaking change, it's going to take a while for the other frameworks to catch up and make those changes, but they might, they will keep in consideration all the developers who have applications out there. They'll make it backwards compatible most likely, but maybe not so much for the different frameworks. And I've seen this every single time. Like a lot of our apps are in Corona, and we've seen this every time there's been an update, where there'll be like a week or two where they're kind of like the forums are just jam-packed with, I'm getting this error when I try to submit to Apple, or I'm getting this error, right? And they're going, okay, we're fixing on it. Our teams are working on it, all that kind of stuff, and it's and they're playing catch up. But that's that shouldn't happen too often, because they usually get developer builds or whatever, or beta of the new platform. So let's go with, open this in a new tab. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to have a look at DevCode's application here. So as a group, let's see, screen share. So this is DevCode's application, which he released on Android earlier this week, or was it earlier this week? So let's see, we've got one 5-star, three reviews, 3 5-star reviews, which is good. It was released on the 7th, which was yesterday. Current version 1.4, so actually it may have been released a bit earlier. Let's see, we've got Legendary Bear. Now, I don't know if you want to put any different keywords in there. You've got legendary bear. You've got all the screenshots here. You've got, okay, let's see. We've got the text here at the bottom. Play it now. Get new characters. Select a level. I would think DevCode that this would be a good candidate for a video. If you just have some video on how to play on there, and you need to get some more reviews. I know it's easier said than done, but I think you need to get some more reviews on here. And let's see what does everybody else think about this. Let's see. Kevin says, "What is Flutter?" Really? You don't? Okay, so Krista, hey gangsta, hey Krista, how's it going? Let's see. Okay, so Cord Funk is answering that question. Julio says, "Hi Eric, I rewrote my first app from Android to Flutter, and it would be great if you guys could give me some feedback." Sure, put it in the comments or give us the name there, Julio. We can have a look at it. Abalash says, "Eric, you missed my message. Please answer it." Abalash, where did I miss it? Sorry, yeah, if I do miss a message and you notice where I am in the stream, which is easier said than done, please let me know. Let me go back to video only. It's the kind of thing where I think I need a... Abalash, I can't see your... okay, here we go. Abalash says, "Hi, Eric. If an interviewer or anyone asks me what are the skills I have as an Android developer, then how should I respond to them?" Okay, well, that depends on what kind of skills you have. You could say, I've released 3 apps on the Android platform using Google Play and in-app purchases. I've worked on, you know, whatever they are, they support both ARM and x86. I've used these different APIs. It communicates with the backend. I think everything you could do that might be interesting to them. So if you're gonna like if I was gonna go for a job as an Android developer, I would go in and I would talk about the application experience that I have. Not so much about my apps and how successful they are, although that's important, because if they're going to release apps to the App Store, if you know something about the app marketing and releasing something on there, or how Google Play works, or and you've read the terms and conditions and you understand how that all works, that would all be very beneficial to them. But also the coding side of it. You know, I've used unit testing, I used AppThwack for testing, I've done on-device testing, I've done yeah, there's loads of things you can mention there, Abalash, but basically, yeah, think through those kind of questions before you go into that interview, right? If they ask about, and because even if they don't ask, right, think about some bullet points. If you're going for an Android developer job, think beforehand what makes you different about that. And it's not even just what makes you different about it. You could be, let's say it's between you and another guy. The other guy is the greatest Android developer in the world, but all he says is, "I'm an Android developer," and you're able to go in and say, I've designed user interfaces. I've done database connectivity both on the device and off the device. I've connected to an API using REST services, using this framework. I've done whatever XML processing, whatever it is specific to that. Or I've done what is the one? It starts with an M. Jeez. So whatever it is. So you could go in there and talk about it. Optimizing the icons for maximum visibility. I've used layouts which were responsive. I've done layouts with fragments, what have you, or the foldable thing. I've been doing a bit of experimenting with the foldable phones, so that's something that's new that's coming out, which is not useful yet, but which is not so much widely used yet, but it's coming out very soon, so keeping an eye on that. Talking about what have you done in the past, what makes you unique, and also what are you thinking about in the future, so you know what's coming up with Android and what's going in, because if you're going to hire somebody, you don't want just the guy who comes in and says, "I'm an Android developer, I do Android." You want the guy who's a player in the industry, who talks about how he works, and he's keeps up with all the latest technology. So sorry I missed your question there, Abalash. Let's see. Fist007 says, in your intro, you'd rather have the like and subscribe message pre-recorded at the end of the intro. This is way you don't need to worry about asking it anymore. I think we had that for a while where it just comes up and flashes up like and subscribe, but it's like one of these things that you see so often that you just ignore it. I have a pet peeve on applications, on apps and websites, and I've talked about this almost my whole career, where when someone designs a new UI, they'll have the dashboard and it will say, welcome, Eric, or welcome to XYZ system, right? There's a welcome message. And it takes about, and my whole argument against it is nobody ever reads the welcome and thinks, oh, that's nice, right? They always think, you know, it just takes up space. It's like you don't know what else to put. So it's just like, on the front page, what you do? Hey, welcome, Eric, or welcome back, Eric. And like, dude, I'm just using the application, right? There's no thing. So I hate that when someone says welcome, and it's also the same with the click, like, and subscribe. You gloss over it because you've seen it so much. And the other thing you gloss over because you've seen so much is, how do you like our app? Click here to leave a review. That's something, but so that's why we try to change it up a little bit by having different images on there. So at least it's a pattern interrupt and you see something different. So we have the little girl saying please on a lot of our applications. That way, if it comes up, you don't just quickly dismiss it because you've seen it a zillion times. It's not the app-tentive one that comes up, whatever. So that's something that we do. Kevin says, thanks. Okay, so CH Development says, Eric, if you retired tomorrow and money was not an issue, would you still make apps as a hobby? Yeah, I would. In fact, if money was not an issue, yeah, because I think it's kind of a creative expression, and maybe not so much. Well, maybe, yeah, I would do apps. But you know what I really like to do? I really like to do automating systems. I like writing Node.js processes that just trigger things off. I love doing that kind of stuff. Like I wrote this Node.js process. I'm a bit spammy, but I wrote this Node.js process that would look for people who are searching for keywords for my application, and it would use spin tags to customize this message, and it would just tweet at them saying, hey, you know, you might want to try this application or whatever. And then I would respond if I got a response back. So sometimes it would trigger a conversation, which that was like, I didn't want to have too much automated. So if there was a conversation, then I would jump in there and do that. But I did something like that. And I love doing that. I have Node.js scripts that will take the reviews down off Google Play using the App Annie API. So I don't use the GS utils, is it GS utils? The buckets. So I don't do that, but I use the App Annie API. That way I could get iOS and Google Play reviews down at the same time. The only problem is they're like a day or two behind. So I love doing that kind of stuff. I love taking things that should take somebody a long time to do and automating them, right? And then when I work at client sites, when I was a contractor, I love doing that kind of stuff too. Let's see. Simo Plays says, Overpass apps, how did you handle the 4.3? I got it by having multiple apps in similar theme and responded saying that I'm aware of their concern and that I will make future apps considering that. I got them to do that for a while. So I told them, okay, I'll make a change here in the next few months, and then I never did. But so I have started going through. Mostly what I did was I just removed a bunch of them. Now I did start in the last couple of weeks just starting to build that container app. I mean, it's been like a year. I'm looking at my iOS revenue, and it's like so small compared to where it was. Right? I mean, I was getting like what, 20, 30 pounds a day on it, and now I'm getting like 6 or 7. Right? So it's I need to get that back up and running. But my whole problem with the 4.3 and the container applications, and I've said this a zillion times on this channel before, is that it doesn't take into consideration the different markets that you're trying to target, right? Like if I sold shoes, and if I had a shoe store and I sold lady shoes and sport shoes and different types of shoes, and I sold them under different brands, and they say you have to have them under the same brand, that wouldn't make sense. But you only have this amount of space to advertise it. That wouldn't make sense because I would try to be all things to all people in a short title. And that was something that didn't bother me. So, I mean, that was something that bothered me a lot. And I took great pains to reskin them all so they were totally unique from each other. Because I did the same thing as you. They were all the same icon, the same background, the same everything. Just the content had changed. And when they complained about that, I changed the background, I changed the music, I changed the images. I changed the menu structures. I changed everything about them so they were all unique from each other. But it wasn't so much that. It was like, oh, they're all similar to each other. So I had to go through and change that. And sometimes it just doesn't quite compute. So I started last week I spent about 4 hours on this. It was not enough time. I was not as easy as I was hoping it would be. So I have the container application, which I don't really have a design for yet. I'm trying to think what is going to be that home screen you get to where you select the other apps that you download. And then I have to download it from AWS, which I'm going to use an S3 bucket. So and integrate that with in-app purchases, download it. And then I downloaded, it's in Corona, so it was Lua files. But of course I can't run the Lua files from within the documents directory. So I have to create these parent Lua files which will load the JSON settings. So I'd go through each one and take out the settings so I could put them into different variables, load it in, and then run it. And it was just a little bit more complicated than I thought. So I'm going to hopefully work on it a bit more this weekend, so at least I could get that out there again, because I have all these, I have all these hours and hours and hours of work gone into all these, and each one meticulously done, and all these voice actors and that I've hired over the years and designers that I just had to remove them all because they weren't approving anything. So I'm still, if I sound a little bit, Simo Plays, if I sound a little bit bitter about Apple still, it's because I am. So let's see. Let me just go to. All right, so Simo Plays says he got this reply here. It says, let me just tell somebody So Simo Plays says, after further review, your proposal hasn't been accepted at this time. We found that the apps on your catalog can be consolidated further. Please provide a revised proposal considering by replying. This was a reply. What do you think I should do? I wasn't able to find a way around this. I mean, I was Simo Plays. I wish I could say that I had a solution, but I argued every single side of this, and in the end, I just didn't do anything. And which is probably not the most grown-up way to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And I still get people asking. People are emailing saying, "Hey, how come I can't download Hebrew Bubble Bath?" Right? It's like, well, because Apple. I'm thinking like if I tell enough people, then Apple will have to capitulate. Big giant Apple who decided to refuse to put Flash on an iPad, right? I think they're never going to capitulate. That's the way it is. And every time that Apple's market share slips, a little part of me feels warm in my heart, but but still, they do make a lot more money from it. And I've been talking to a lot of people recently who are making a lot more from Apple than you would have thought. So I mean, than Google Play. So Google Play is much more, for me, Google Play is ad driven. It's ads and a few in-app purchases. But Apple, I was finding, well, the ads on Apple are actually, I had higher RPMs on iOS through that, but then I also had more people making purchases. So, and now I only have like 2 or 3 apps on Apple, and it's just, so I'm not really bringing the money in there. So, let's see. Fist007 says, and how are we with the Day in Eric's Workday video? Yeah, you know what? I need to do that. I hope the videos haven't been getting too boring. I've taken over doing the editing again, so sometimes I have a bit more time than others, and I've done a lot in the car this past week, so sorry about that. Julio Cruz says, okay, great, it's Paycheck Buddy, and it bills reminds you to expense tracker. Okay, so we're going to look at Julio Cruz's application, which is called Paycheck Buddy. So let's have a share the screen here. Let's see. And we'll look at Vuko's app here next in a minute. So Julio, can we just let me know if this is the right application just before I talk too much about it? Let's see. So I believe this is Julio's application called Paycheck Buddy, Bills and Money Tracker. So we got the keywords in there. We don't have any duplication. That looks cool. I think the icon looks like it could use a little bit more It's almost like well, this is just my opinion. Again, what works and what doesn't work, but it would be a good Google Play experiment to try a few different icons. Maybe try something with currency symbols on it, or something with bills, or you even make that bigger so it fills up more of the icon. We've got the stay on top of your finances, never miss a payment, never miss a bill payment, control your money, bill payment reminders. I think this looks good. I mean, how's it doing in terms of search? Let's see. Oh, keeps closing when I do anything. Ooh, that's a bad review. Oh. So you got, of the 2 reviews, you've got 1 5-star and 1 2-star. I think you need some more, like, get some more 5 stars on there and bring that up. We'll fix this. We just fixed this. Sorry for the inconvenience. I'm glad you responded to him. That was just a few weeks ago, so he hasn't changed anything. But it's good that you have that public response there. Now, I would say that it shouldn't be too hard to get another review on there, or at least get a few more reviews. Because that right there is probably the biggest blocker, I would imagine, to doing anything. So yeah, I had the same thing. Julio, I had the same thing. My first app, my first app was called EarSpy, and I released it, and the first review was a 1-star. It said, WTF, this sucks, right? And I was just devastated. I had one, my score was 1. That was like the first day. So at the time, for some reason, I didn't want to leave a review myself, and I don't know why. I think there's nothing wrong with it, so if you leave yourself a review, but so I asked my son to leave a review, and he left. He was he was like 13, so he left a 3-star review. So at least I brought it up to a 2. And I'm like, God, 3-star? Can you just give me a 5-star? He goes, well, I don't know, Dad. I was like, so that's the kind of weight I carry around the house. But yeah, I definitely think you need to get that up. So get it up past a 3. But the nice thing is you only have 1-star review, and it shouldn't be too hard to bring that up to a 4 or a 4.6 if you can get enough help on it. And if anybody out there wants to help out Julio, that might help. And if anybody's got any other suggestions for Julio on this, let me know. But I think the crashing issue is something to look into. And also, again, some videos might be good on this too. And I think the icon. So let's do a quick search on, because this has been out for a while. Bills and money tracker. So even if I search on your keywords, budget app. So we got budget, expense tracker. And we got some with the wallet on there. With the book. I mean, what can we do here? I think, Julio, what can we do to stand out just a little bit more? Because it seems like a very crowded niche. And let's go through, and I'm just going to do one more search on App Annie. All right, so Paycheck Buddy. So just so we have a look at the keywords that we're ranking for on this one. Okay. Oh, so you do have it on iOS. Is it Julio? Let me know. Is it doing better on iOS than it is on Google Play? So I'm mainly looking at Google Play, although we can have a look at the iOS if you want. ASO. Let's see. So we've got Paycheck. Oh, hey, you're ranking number 5 for Paycheck. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Let's see. Let's go to United States, because that's we Americans love to be U.S. centric, and they're probably they might be one of the bigger markets for you. So ranking number 12 there. It kind of goes up and down, and you're on an upsurge, so that's cool. Bills Monitor. And then some of these other ones here, you're outside of that. So I think about what would some other words that people would use besides bills. And also, I don't know if you're doing anything in terms of different languages. So let's go to Spanish, for example. So okay, I'm getting, so the spending tracker icon on existing app looked better. So let's see. So Spain. So are you? So we just Paycheck. So yeah, that's something. Let's have a quick look. And I know we're gonna move on to some other apps here. I actually set a timer today, so for 6 o'clock to go off, so I don't lose track. I have a tendency to just keep on talking. Paycheck Buddy. And let's have a look at this one. You have different screenshots on iOS. And your last version update was a second, so it's recent. Let's go over to keywords and ASO. And you're still ranking really well. Paycheck seems like it was a good bet for you, but I mean all the other ones I think you could use some help on. So looking for some different examples. So Julio, let me know if that's helpful. If anybody else has anything else on that, let me know. The next one I want to have a look at here is Vuka wants some ASO suggestions here for Classic Word Search 2019 Epic Letter and Puzzle Game. Okay, so we've got Epic Letter Puzzle Game. So word search, you got word, you got puzzle, you got epic. Let's see, time's up. So if we do a search for, if we do a word search on Google Play, let's see. Oh, wow. Okay. So our icon looks, I don't know if the icon, what do you guys think of the icon here? It's very busy. Like it's, I'm trying to think how it would look when it's small. It almost looks like digital, like matrix type of stuff. But and then the W. So let's see. I'm trying to see if does it stand out. It's different than the others, so at least that's something. But I'm trying to see, is it even on this page? So we've got the W here. Find words, word search. Wow. I mean, there's loads of them. So what can we do in terms of ASO? Let's have a look over at. And when did you actually release this? The last version was on the 12th of February 2019. Current version 1, 2, 3. Let's have a look at. Classic word search. Okay, so David, so let's have a look over at the ASO keywords and see if you're ranking for anything, because I would imagine that this is so difficult. So you got classic words, which is, I'm trying to think if that's something people would be searching for. So out of 249, you ranked 24th. So like that's something, hard word search. Cool, that sounds good. Hard word search. A word finder game. So you are ranking for a lot of things here, but not in the top 10 on any of them. So, or even in the top 20. So is there anything that you could do? Actually, I'm looking at the United Kingdom. Let's see, go over to US and word search epic. Yeah, I'm trying to think if anybody would search at search classic, classic search, classic word search, classic words, word classic. I mean, yeah, classic's a good word, but I'm wondering if anybody would actually search for it unless they're actually looking for something classical. What do you guys think about this one? For me, I would like to. I would think you should experiment with the icon changes. Although it's mainly the keywords that we're having an issue with. Because I mean, even if the icon, because the icon isn't even showing up here. So if I go over to, if I did word search, if I do word search, we got loads of them. If I do classic word search, then maybe. But oh, if I do, let's do word search 2019 though. Using the year in there is actually kind of good. Word search 2019. There you go. So you're actually using the date is pretty cool there. And you might, like this guy's got it in the title 2019. So a lot of these guys are doing that too. So you might want to do that. I would say experiment a little bit more with the icon, because if somebody's searching that might be useful. I know I'm kind of just going up. I'm trying to think of something that would jump in this crowded market, something that would jump out there, but I can't think of anything readily available. Let's see. Rahul Loversh says, what should I learn? Web, app, or mobile game development? Do you mean web? Well, okay. So here's my here's my opinion on that, and I might offend some people. I think you should do web. No, I still think app development is important. I think game development is very good, but it's so crowded and a lot of people are doing it. However, I think you could do a lot with games in the educational area. I still think that. I think that you can get somebody to pay you as an educational game developer, because it takes the concepts of education and learning and makes it something that, you know, people would want to do. Someone would hire to do. Like, we need our pupils to learn this complicated subject, etc., etc., etc. But other than that, like just releasing a game and hoping it to be a runaway hit, I think is a lot more difficult than a lot of people realize. But if you are able to do it, then do it. And if you're like an indie, then you can do it like you're writing a novel. Just continue to tweak and change and that kind of stuff. But an app, I think that apps are going the way that the web did, where we're going to a lot more corporate apps, a lot more enterprise apps, and things being used internally. The web is good in terms of PWA, so if you have that knowledge, you could do that. And also you have things like Ionic and React Native, which is kind of web framework-ish, but not well, Ionic is, but not so much React Native, so it really depends on what you want to do. I think if you really love doing it, then you're going to be good at it. Like if it's something, here's an example. Here's something that I keep learning, especially early in my development career. They kept teaching me, and I got pretty good at it, but I hated doing it, which was Crystal Reports. Crystal Reports is a reporting framework. It was used in a lot of investment banks. It was used in a lot of big corporate environments, actually. So they say, we need Crystal Reports, guys. I've been on a few courses. I actually use Crystal Reports extensively in a lot of things, and I knew my way around the interface really, really well. However, I hated Crystal Reports, so I didn't do any additional reading on it. I didn't do anything else. But other things like web, I would get a book on CSS. Like when CSS 4 came out, was it 4? So when new versions of CSS, or when the WWDC comes out with new stuff, I read up on it. When the new version of Internet Explorer would come out, I would find out all the new things so I could use them, because I was interested in it, and I was thinking not just I'm going to learn it so I could do better at my job. It was more like, think of all the cool stuff I could do. Think of how I can impress people with this kind of stuff. So that gets me going forward. And if it's something that I'm not that concerned with, and I don't really like that much, then I'm not going to be that interested in. So I think, Rahul, think about what you like to do, and I think you should try all of those. But I think that app is app more niche or not? I mean, web is good and everything. I mean, but web, yeah, I mean, it depends. It also depends if you're looking for a job or if you just want to do something to make your own money. I do think that apps and games, the payments are much easier. It's just an in-app purchase. It's like a click of a button, and rather than go through Stripe or PayPal or Braintree or one of the other things and take your wallet out. So Jack Dacey says, my first app is ready for sale for the past 72 hours. My first iOS app is called Ready for Sale for the past 72 hours. How long before it shows up in the App Store? Oh, let's try this. So I'm going to try to go on the App Store here real quick. So we look at this will be looking at Jack Dacey's app. So for once, I remember to bring in my my iPad. So let's go to Time Player. Movie recording. So let's go to, sorry, just one moment. Just one moment. Oh, is that one I plugged in? All right. So we get this thing working. No. Okay. Maybe I might not be able to do this actually. So Jack, let's have a quick look on App Annie. So if it's been 72 hours, has it been? If it's ready for sale and you can't see it on this showing up on the App Store in 72 hours, I mean, are you actually searching for it? I mean, what I would do, because I've done this before, I would contact Apple. I've had that happen before where I had a client that it was like urgent, so they had an event like a trade show, and people they were trying to get them to search it, and I showed them how to get a link to the app. So you can just send this out to people, but they want it to be searchable in a very short amount of time. So I had to email them to find out what was going on. So let's see if I get this working. Nope. All right. So I was going to show my iPad, but I can't seem to do that. So sorry about that, Jack. But I would say if it's not showing up after 72 hours, see if you can contact them, put it into the reviews. I think you should have the text box there. Just find out. Cord Funk says, "Yo, Eric, do you schedule in study time in your workday to learn new skills?" Yeah, I do it mostly in the morning. So I come in early in the mornings. I've talked about this before. Like this morning is 4:30. It came up, and I come in, and that's usually the time if I want to learn something new. That's when I'll do it. It's like the quiet time where I can just focus on stuff. And sometimes it's coding a lot of times, and sometimes it's doing something like I said, meditation or reading something like sales books. So like if I'm reading something, and sometimes it's at home, like I'm just sitting on the couch, I might have a book that I read, and that's kind of study time, but it's not active study time. Like it's not having two monitors and I'm watching a tutorial one and I'm typing into another. It's more like, I hope I remember this tomorrow, that kind of stuff. So, and then also on Fridays, I'll do sometimes, especially like a Friday afternoon. We don't really feel like working. Sometimes that'll be a good time to do that. Like I have these things that I go back to, which other people might consider work and I consider fun because it's not what I should be working on at the moment. So I might do some tutorials there. So, but I don't have like a dedicated, except for the morning. Most of the time, I just squeeze it in. So, and do I schedule breaks? I don't really schedule breaks, but I do consistently like go to lunch. It's very rare when I miss a lunch break. I'll always think, oh, it's nearly lunchtime. I'll go out and have lunch. So, Deborah Tester says, "Are you considering porting your apps to Flutter?" Yeah. So I keep doing this, Deborah. I keep looking at my apps and thinking, that's it. I'm gonna move it over to Flutter, and then I'll start doing it, and then it's one of these things where it's not urgent yet. So, and also the nice thing, if I wasn't able to do that, and I've done it with my biggest app, EarSpy. I have ported over to I've ported over to Ionic. I ported it over to Corona when I got Corona Enterprise, and but I haven't done it to Flutter yet. And the nice thing about porting an app, but they never released them because the native app is fine for that. But the nice thing about porting something rather than doing something from scratch is you already have all the graphic resources. Basically, you're trying to translate what's happening on this application to what's happening over here, and you do side-by-side comparisons. So, but I'm considering it, but I haven't done it yet. And it's really just the time. Like I feel like sometimes I feel like my schedule is just so full that I just don't have time to do the code that I want to do, which is poor me. But it's amazing how the time just goes just disappears. Julio Cruz says, "Already fixed that crashing bug." Okay, so let's see. Okay, Techno Joe says, "Jack show up within 12 hours, ready for sale." If yours not showing up, yeah, I would say contact them, Jack. Let's see. Kevin says, "What do you recommend for a first-year university student wanting to create their first app?" Create it. Get it out there. Here's the thing. You could wait for the big idea to hit you, or you could just create something and get it out there. And if you create something and get it out there, you're going to know the whole process, right? You're going to... Okay, so I released just recently I released a Google Home app. So I put, it's just really simple. Like you say to Google, let me talk to Overpass apps. And you say, give me an app idea. That's it. And give me some keyword suggestions. And it uses our keywords bit that we're doing, which is kind of flaky, because they keep changing the API. But I did that, and I was gonna I wanted to build it out a lot more, but at the same time, I didn't understand the deployment process. So I meet so many developers who can code and do applications, but they have no idea how to deploy. Right? They just, once they get to that pit where they have to sign an application, either the key store signing on Android or doing the signing, downloading the provisioning profile on iOS, never done it before, or they do it so rarely they don't know how to do it. And I'm kind of thinking that's something I do all the time. I think it's better to get something out there, the minimum product, as soon as you can, so at least you see how the whole process works, and then you can say, okay, so that's how it's done. Now I'm going to go back and do it correctly. It's almost like it's like if you were going to learn to fly an airplane, right? You're gonna learn to take off, you're gonna learn to fly, and you're gonna learn how to land. You're not gonna get taking off perfect and then the flight part perfect and then the landing part, hopefully you'll work it out. The first time it's going to be messy all the way through. It's going to be bumpy. Everything's going to mess up, but then you know the process, and then you can start refining it and building the quality into it, if that makes any sense at all. Let's see. KP says, hi, I'm here, your friend, remember? Hey, KP, how's it going? Let's see. Pedro Henrique, how's it going? How do you translate your apps? So make sure, this is one thing, Pedro, if you're, the key thing to do is to make sure you code it multilingual to begin with. And this is something that it was like the first app I did, I assumed the developers knew what they were doing. Never assume the developers know what they're doing. So that all we would have to do is take the strings.xml for Android, the Android application, and translate it. Just take it and send it to some translators to get it translated. And of course, they weren't using strings.xml. They were just hard coding the values into forms. And a lot of times that's what you do, especially if you do something like an Ionic or Corona or whatever. It's just easier just to type it in. And I'll do this a lot for client applications too, where even though we're using multilingual framework, sometimes I need to render it, I need to see how it's going, and I'll put something in there in English, like a label, and I'll completely forget about it. It's not until I go through and test it in another language that I find out how much is in English. And sometimes, here's a problem with that. Sometimes is I just completely gloss over it because that's my native language, and I don't notice that the word is in English, right? It's almost like, so it's easier if I could do something like Chinese, right? Because then I could tell. But even then, I'll completely miss it, like a button text or something like that. And so you need to make sure that you're using variables throughout. Like if you're using Android, it's built in, right? If you're using something like, well, we did a lot in Ionic, and we use the Angular multilingual library. I can't remember what it's called, but I've used it in a lot of projects. And basically, so we have a JSON file. Actually, this in the app.config. We have all the strings. So basically, all we have to do is take that that array out, and then we can send it to the different translators. And so what I did in that situation was take it and put it into a Google Sheet, and then have a column for each language, and then I would share that sheet with the different translators, and they would go through and do that. And I would also have a Google Doc, so we could do the App Store translations and the text on the screenshots. So don't forget that kind of stuff. That's something that you're going to end up forgetting. So it's almost worth just doing one language first, so you make sure you have everything, make sure you're not forgetting anything. There's nothing worse than going through and getting your app translated in all these different languages, and then you forgot one button. Or somebody says, oh, can you just add this one thing? It's like, dude, I got to go back to all those translators again and do it again. But that's fine. And then another thing you could do, and I've done this before, is just use Google Translate just for the testing purposes. So, and if you use Google Sheets, there's a Google Translate function. I'm just gonna, sorry guys, I know it's boring when I just sit here typing, but let me see if I can find an example of something that I've done. Actually, we'll just do a real-time example. So I'm just going to go. Oh, sorry. I don't want to share my Google Drive because I think I've got client stuff on there, but let me just do, bring up a Google Sheet here. All right, so I'm going to show you guys like an example of something I've done. This shouldn't go to production, but it's good for testing. So if you're going to go through, I would go and create a Google sheet, and you could. Oh, it's going to be so I'll have like the. So it's one of these things when you're live streaming. Okay, variable English. Actually, I usually do en, es, zhcn, whichever. So we go through and do say it's my start variable for my start button. I would do that, and then I would do plus Google Translate B1 target source language en, this language C1, whatever. So, C destination language. Let's just do ES. Hang on a second. Let me B2 Google Translate. This is what happens when you go live. Let me just zoom this in a little bit. Oh, duh. Let's see. And I can never remember if it's double quote. It's like, unlike other things, it's this. So I could go through and do that, and basically just drag it across and do over here to start ZH. So from this, I could go through and create my variables here. And usually what I'll do, this is the kind of thing I would give to the translators. So I'd create all my variables along the start. I would do my English ones here, which I'm actually using. I would go into another sheet here and then create the JSON or the XML, whatever, by just saying link to that cell, that cell, that cell. That way you can just drag it down, copy it out, paste it into the code, and then you have that. And then you just go through and use Google Translate to translate all of those. Now, Google Translate is not a good option for this, but at least you can see what it looks like. You can start to see what it is. And once you get a translator to go through and look at it, then they can go through and correct it. And what I would say, though, if you're going to send it off to translators, is remove all your test code, because they might take that and it might dissuade them. They might be looking at something else and getting a different idea of how it works. But that's something that I've done in the past by just go through and doing the Google Translate, because that's Google Sheets. It's the nice thing about Google Sheets. They have those functions in there, and you just go through and copy all that stuff and paste it in. Right? Really, really simple. And I don't know if you guys can see that. I know. Sorry about that. Zoom into 150%. So yeah, so ES, Google Translate, ES, ZHCN. You go through and then move all those down and say, all right, settings, and then this should actually be and again, and we've talked about this several times before. Google Translate is not a very good substitute for the real translation. So, so that would be my way of doing that. To make a short answer long, that's what I would do, Pedro. Vuko says, yes, I see it's crowded there. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. TechnoJoe says, nope, ready for sale. Apple's language for your app is live. You can't search it on the App Store, then it's another issue. What is the title? Yeah, it might say pending developer release. If you set it to manual, make sure you didn't set it to that. JC says, hello, Eric. Hey, Jay. Rahul says, I don't want to do a job because I want to make money for myself by selling my products, either app or game. Yeah, that's cool, Rahul, but if you do something where you're employable too, I think the win-win here is that you do something that other people will pay you for, and it can make you money. So it has to be something that you like, and also something that if you were to take on a job, it would almost be like they'd be training you. So if you've ever taken on a job for something like a software position, it's almost like, it's not so much that they're training you, because you should know how to do that when you go there, but you get the you get practice. You just get really good at practicing how to do this kind of stuff. And if you're motivated, think like I've been really good at programming languages where I thought I can use this at home. I could use this in my own apps too. And then it motivates me to learn it just a little bit more. And then people say, wow, Eric, you really, I mean, yeah. It's funny when the amount of times I've heard in my career, yeah, Eric, you're good at the book smarts, but I'm more street smart. I had somebody tell me this once. Yeah, Eric, another developer, and he was just so cocky. He was such a jerk. This guy I worked with, and he was like, his whole thing was, yeah, Eric, you're really good at the book learning, but I have to be more hands-on. I'm more street smarts, right? And I'm like, street smarts? We're talking about computers here. Come on, and you have to know, like, you have to do both. Right? You have to have on-the-job training, you have to have hands-on training, and you also have to do the book learning. You have to learn how things are supposed to work, and you can't just learn on the job. If you're ever going to hire a doctor, you want somebody who just learned on the job.
Here's your reminder, 6 p.m.
Alexa, thanks. So that's my thing. Let's see. So we've got...
Here's your reminder.
Alexa, stop. Let's see. CH Development says, has anyone tried the Android Instant App feature? I haven't. From what I heard, it's a lot like PWAs, isn't it? I have not. I've never used it. I also haven't used Android bundles yet. Let's see. JC says, Eric, I want to make an Android game, so it is better to do it in... So is it better to do it in BuildBox, Unity, or other platforms to learn coding language or code it myself? I think if you're going to do a game through Unity, BuildBox is more of it's like a drag and drop editor. I think we looked at it a couple weeks ago, and that's one of the problems I have about app builders is you have to check to make sure that you own the code. Like, could you take the code and still run, like if they went out of business or their servers went down or you had to sell it on to a client, let's say it was a runaway hit and then somebody wanted to buy it from you, are you going to say, yeah, you have to get a BuildBox subscription and I'll see if I could transfer it over to you, and then they get their cut of it, and or you're going to have something where you actually own it. Now Unity is code, so you learn how to code it and you could give that to them, and then if you did native, then that would be good too. But my whole problem with app builders is just not being able to own it. We've had clients come to us and said that their developers told them that they couldn't give them the source code because they didn't own the source code. They were using a app builder software. I think they were using business objects, if I remember correctly. Aiden Mack, hey, how's it going? Gurav Singla says, Eric, try to share best ad network that feature rewarded video ads. So I did a video about, I recorded a video about this today, and I think it goes out tomorrow. But I did here's the ones I've tried. I've tried AdColony, Vungle, and Google, and AdMob. So when AdMob finally got rewarded ads, I've tried that. And I've actually been pretty disappointed with the performance of rewarded ads, because I thought the payment would be based on impression, and it was strange how I would have impressions and I would have people doing it and I would reward something at the end of them watching an ad, but they never clicked on anything and I didn't get any revenue from it. It was just like basically everyone's just annoyed, right? I'm annoyed, they're annoyed, everyone's annoyed except for the advertiser who didn't have to pay a thing. So that was something that I was really surprised about. I would thought, if I was going to, and what I was doing was giving an in-app purchase as a free feature just for watching an ad, because the in-app purchase was not doing very well. I thought I'll try to do a rewarded ad. And what I did was I tried to make it so you watch 10 ads and then we'll give it to you. So then you watch 10 ads, you go through and watch 10 different ads. What was happening though, the fill rate wasn't working, so we didn't have 10 ads. So I'd have people watch 4 ads and there were no more ads available, and they were getting pissed off. They were really angry about it, so I got a lot of bad reviews on it. So in the end I went back to just 1 ad. So if there's an ad available, then you can watch this ad, and I made like no revenue from it. It was terrible. Let's see. Aiden Max says, do you reply to app reviews personally or do you delegate it? I used to do it personally myself, but I delegate it now. So I have Rowena on my team. She does. She responds to all the reviews, and if there's anything that's major, like somebody says there's a virus or there's like a bug or something like that, then she'll tell me. But other than that, she'll do the standard thing. And I could automate it but I think it's better to have a human do it. So if somebody says something really nice, like, I love this application, then have somebody say, hey, we're really glad you like it, right? Rather than just we're really glad you like it for every single one. So it's so we do have somebody doing it, but it's not me doing it, because it was too much. It was too much for me to. I do answer all the every time there's an answer of a comment on YouTube, that's always me. So that's something that I think that if somebody asks a question on YouTube, I know that they're asking specifically me, but with the apps, I don't think they're specifically asking me a question. So I think just somebody on the team. So it's not me doing it, Aiden. So, and it's because I had so many apps that it just was too hard. It was hard to go into every single one and find out what we had. So, Ankush Sharma says, hi, Eric, can you check out an old app of mine, Bar Bending Schedule, on Google Play? It's the one with the black circular logo. All right, so we're going to look at this for Ankush. It's called Bar Bending Schedule. All right, so I hope you guys aren't bored on these live streams. You see, I am in my mind, we're having this huge conversation, and then when I go back and I watch the replay later, I realize, dude, it's just me talking. So sorry about that. But so like if you're watching without looking at the chat, you wouldn't have any idea what was going on, and I know that. So Bar Bending Schedule, Builder's World. Okay, cool. Old application. You've got BBS app tutorial. Bar Bending Schedule. What does bar bending schedule mean? Is it like civil engineers and steel weight calculator. The steel weight reinforcement of the cement concrete. With this app, you can prepare steel reinforcement the easiest and intuitive way. Okay, so it's actually something that is useful. It's not useful. It's something that you have a specific market for. Hang on, let's go back to this. So bar bending schedule. I don't understand what the icon means. I think the problem I might have here, Ankush, is I'm not totally aware of how the process works. So actually, let's watch the video. Just so we can see how this goes. And there's.
Put your finger anywhere on the canvas and drag it.
Okay, so you got voice on there. That's cool.
Bar is being drawn and it follows your finger. Now lift your finger and touch anywhere else on the canvas. You will notice that your bar continues to draw from the last known point. Now continue this process and draw the full shape of your bar.
Okay, so cool. So I think in terms of the functionality, because it's meant for a specific group of people, which is builders and civil engineers, I think it looks fine. I don't know what the icon means. In bar bending schedule, I'm wondering whether that's something that people would look at. So again, because I know I seem like I'm kind of tough and gritty, and I got that alpha male construction worker vibe about me. I actually don't know very much about this. So, but I would say that. So I think in the video, like let's say we're going to do some stock footage on it just to make it a little bit more interesting. Now, not for the icon. I think the icon probably needs something else. Actually, bar bending. Because I think bar bending, so you're ranking top for that. But I'm just wondering, bar bending schedule, here we go. You've got somebody else with the same exact schedule of column. Okay, but you're ranking better than they are on this. Metal bending, rebar, reinforce. So there's a few of them out there. Have you thought about doing this? And this is a terrible icon, right? This is a terrible icon. That's just a stock image, right? It must look terrible on a phone itself. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about this? I think you seem to be doing pretty well if I search for bar bending, and I'm trying to think what would somebody who's using this application, what would they search for? Now, for the video itself, you could do something like use video blocks and purchase a few stock images of, let's see, story blocks. If we're gonna go to story blocks and we look for either some stock images or some stock video of rebar or bar bending. If you were going to put something like this in your video, oh, nope. So maybe something over here. Now this is not one of the ones on their subscription, but maybe something here that you could show some images Maybe this one here. Just something to show in the environment, holding up the phone, something like that. Maybe do something in the video. Maybe have some background on the screenshots and stuff like that. But again, it all depends on if they're actually coming to the application itself. So anyway, what do you guys think? I mean, let's you guys if you have anything out there for Ankush. MD says, "Hey Eric, do you use any other ad network right now besides AdMob? If so, which one?" Right now, I'm just using AdMob. I think I use AppLovin just on a few applications that I haven't switched it off yet, but mostly it's AdMob. And I've tried others, and I have the mediation network set up. But it's every time they make a change and I have to go through and change the SDKs. I haven't done that recently, so I don't know. See, right now it's been so consistent with AdMob that every time I've gone to another ad network, it's like I'm starting over. Or like in the beginning, I was trying all the ad network, or I was trying like it's not all of them. I was trying like 5, and I had like it was almost like I had little pockets of money, and it took me ages to get to the threshold where we get paid. So like MobFox was a good example of one where I had like $20 in MobFox for like 6 months. Right? It was in the end, I just switched it off because I never, like the threshold was $30. So eventually I got that money out though. Let's see, Android bundles are dope. It shrinks the size in half. At least it did in my case. Yeah, I know. I need to get into that. Let's see. Abdhad says, "Hey man, I recently found your channel and I'm really enjoying your content. I was following your ASO videos and marketing stuff. Can you use my app as an example to educate, or maybe one of yours?" Put your Abhad. If you put your app in here, we can have a look at it. Omega Doom says, "Can you explain why you decided to hire employees as opposed to freelancers? Do you ever subcontract work?" So Omega Doom, I don't hire employees. I have a contractor here, and I have freelancers. I mean, they're freelancers in the Philippines, and I have teams that I work with in India. I have had employees here. So right now I have contractors, which is, I mean, it's different, but I have had employees, and I think it's much more stressful having employees, just keeping them busy and everything like that. But it is mostly freelancers, and we do subcontract out work all the time. But not willy-nilly. Like I get contacted probably once a day, or at least 3 or 4 times a week by companies saying, "You're looking for app developers. We're app developers. We could do your app development, but really, it's so hard to find somebody who's good, right?" And they say, "Just try us out for a pilot project, and you'll find out how good we are." It's like, dude, it's more complicated than that, because it's the investment we have to do to find out if they're any good. And so I'll have those initial conversations, and usually it's not with the developer, so it's almost unfair to them. So they'll say, "Oh no, we're really, really good," and I'll say, "Well, do you do Flutter?" And they'll say, yeah, we do Flutter," and I'll ask a few questions they don't. And to be honest with you, maybe I'm being a bit of a jerk by asking about Flutter, because I know the answer is no. But even if I ask something native, I'll ask like a question that I think is more specific. So let's see. Modern Deer says, "Hi, what do you think about the Android navigation architecture component? Making an app with fragments. I'm trying to learn how to do it. I was wondering if I can make whole up using this structure. I'm not sure. I don't know if I've used that. Oh God, you guys are gonna call me a newbie now." Christopher Norbo says, "I love that you're trying to be strict with your time and end by telling Alexis to shut up." Yeah, I know. I need to. You're absolutely right, Krister. I did say that. Okay, we won't do any more questions after Jesse's question, right? So Jesse's question is the last one, so I can get home and all that stuff. But we'll do this again next week. Abtad says, "My game is called Snake Simulator Snaky by Quintessence on Play Store. Can you help me out? I'm having issues with ASO. Can you explain how I'll go about doing it?" Let's have a quick look over here on so we'll have a look at Abtad's app over here. Go over to screen share. Snake Simulator. Oh, there's. Is this it? Snaky? By. Nope. Snake it by Quintessence. Is it? Does it rank here? Here we. Oh, okay, here we go. So already for your name, you're already ranking. You're pretty far down on this list. So let's go back to that. Where was it? So okay. Snaky, Snake Simulator, Snaky, and then you've got snakes. Okay, so it looks pretty cool. Let's have a look. First of all, Snake Simulator. It doesn't. I'm trying to think. If I was looking for a snakes game, what I would search for? Would I search for Snake Simulators? Snaky, I like the name Snaky, especially since it looks like a little guy, but I think if you had something like this says, looking at the screenshot says more to me than the icon does. So if that's what I'm looking for, so I've done this, so maybe I've played these kind of games on an old Nokia, the Snake game, and I want to be able to do that, then maybe that would be something that I would look for here. And you've got the different screenshots. So it's all. So my question to you, Abtad, would be look at your user acquisition report. So how are people actually finding it? Let's go with, and you've got like like of keywords in your package name. Let's have a look. So we can find it over here. Snake Simulator by Quintessence. And see what we're actually ranking for over here. So Snaky, you're ranking number 4. So people know what they're looking for, then that's it. But you're not seem to be ranking for anything else. Maze running, you don't have. Let's go back over here. So I would think, what would people search for? Would we put? I think if you put maze, so if you were to put mazes in the title, or maze in the title might work out. I think Snaky would be the title of the application. Snake Simulator. I'm not sure if that's applicable. I mean, what do the rest of you guys think about that one? So I'm thinking we need to have. What we need to do is think about how people are finding the application. What would they be searching on? Like if I was to type snakes, so I can see slither.io, which would be the top one. I can see Venom. See, I like these icons just because they show what it does. You're showing the face of it, which is like the least interesting part of the character. But again, it's whether or not they actually see it, and we'll talk about what they're searching for. So we got slither.io, we got snake97, snakes. If I go Snake Simulator, you're coming up way down there. And then also the top one here is actually a different type of app. So it's which is kind of cool, but you're never going to be able to beat this guy if he's got 22,270 reviews. So I think we should start thinking about what kind of other things would you do. You got slither.io, which doesn't have snakes in the title, but it ranks top for snakes. You got maze, so you have to think about some different words that we could try in the title. Snakes, maze, and your whole goal at this point would be to try different things and look at the acquisition report and see how you're ranking. Go into analytics and type in different stuff. So if I type in snakes, are you even ranking at all? So it's loading up here. If I type in classic snakes, if I type maze, although I don't think you rank it for maze because you're not ranking for maze running. But we'll let those load up here for a second. So I think that would be what to do. I think it's such a difficult one to do. Robo Highlights, say, what the heck is up? Hey, Robo Highlights, how's it going? Anchor says logo is supposed to be the bar bending machine. If you pull the steel rebar in between, it bends. And yes, I am thinking about changing the logo. Yeah, I think it's just because I don't know much about it, so it's difficult. If somebody uses a rebar machine or a bar bending machine, they're going to know exactly what that is, and that might be a perfect logo icon for them. So don't go by what I said on that, Ankush. Jesse says, do you go to any conferences? If so, what was the last conferences you have attended? It's been a while. I don't think I've been to any in 2018 at all. I used to go to Apps World every year. So I think it's in December, if I remember correctly. And I used to go every year because I'm an app developer. I'll go to Apps World, and really it was just everybody trying to sell you stuff, right? It's like I'm not a big fan of conferences myself. I mean, I like to go to the ones that you pay for. So I went to and like go to seminars and stuff. Yeah, that's something I like to do, but I haven't really had time to do that recently, Jesse. So, but I go to so I go to Apps World. I think we're going to go to a call center one here next month, or maybe it's this month. And I think a lot of times you go in and you think, I'm just going to get out there and network, meet some people. I need to get the word out and everything like that. And I talked in a video earlier this week or last week. I just stand by the coffee maker and just kind of don't do much of anything. And it just seems like this. It's a bit like LinkedIn. I think going to conferences is like going on LinkedIn. Everybody on LinkedIn, in my opinion, and people said you need to do more on LinkedIn. In my opinion, everybody's on LinkedIn for a reason. They're either they're selling, right? I'm gonna say buying or selling. Most of the time they're selling, right? And it's the motivation behind that is, we have a bunch of sellers trying to sell to each other, right? And that's kind of the thing I think about with conferences, right? If I and I thought about this a few years ago. I had a magazine contact me called Outsource Magazine because my whole Overpass was going to be this outsourcing company. And so I had this company called up and said, we're outsourcing magazine and we have a distribution of whatever inflated thing was. Let's say it was like 50,000 or something. We have a circulation of 50,000, so we can get in front of your clients through Outsource Magazine. And I was actually considering it. I'm like asking about the full page ad, the half page ad. I'm thinking, could I afford this, whatever? And then I thought about it. I thought, would somebody who was looking to hire an outsource company go to Outsource Magazine, or would that be mostly other outsourcing companies that would be on that? And I thought it would mainly the latter, right? It would be mainly those. And I think when I go to conferences, like trade show type conferences, not so much seminar conferences where you learn something, you go there thinking, well, maybe we could find some new clients, maybe we can find that. But then everybody's doing the same thing, and it's like everybody's trying to sell to each other, and it's this incestuous thing. And but that's just my opinion. Yeah, I could be completely wrong about this because obviously, I mean, it seems to work for some people. MD says, hey, so I just say Jesse's question will be the last one, but we'll go just a little bit further. Hey, Eric, did you notice that passive income is much work to start and maintain? Yeah, it is. MD, it is harder to get the passive income going. That's why it's good to have active income while you build up the passive income, right? So that you're not, but that should be the goal. I mean, you think about if you work for a company, a lot of times the companies you work for are trying to generate passive income, and sometimes the passiveness is the fact, even if it's active income, even like a software development agency, it could be passive income for somebody. Like they're just hiring people and outsourcing or whatever, or hiring the developers and everybody takes over for it. So it's passive in a way. But there's so many companies out there, that's what they want to do. They want to release their product and have purchases go and everything like that. So, but it is harder to get. I mean, it takes a while to incubate. It takes a while to get it going, right? You can't just say, I need $3,000 this month, so I'm going to release an app for passive income. I know some people say they can make that work, but for me, and I've never done it. There's a lot of trial and error and see if we get the word out. Amdo Hamdi says, how much you earn from AdMob in the first year? I can remember for the longest time it was like 3 or 4 pounds a day. I can't remember how much it was in the first year. I'll have to check that one out. There was this thing in like 2014, 2015 where they changed, AdMob changed. I can't remember what it was, but all the old data was gone. So I can't remember specifically, like in terms of the year, how much it was. I'm afraid. Amdo Hamdi. But Kevin says, for making iOS app, do you recommend using code? Do you recommend a code in Xcode first or something else? I don't like Xcode, right? And I've tried to use, JetBrains has a tool called App Code, which is, it's still Objective-C, but it's more of a, it's in a JetBrains tool, so it's the same company that does WebStorm and IntelliJ and Android Studio, so a lot of the shortcuts are the same. That's like the big thing for me. But I would find that like a lot of times every tutorial was in Xcode, so I would do like a little bit in app code and then move it over to Xcode and that kind of stuff. So I'm still showing the screen over here. Sorry about that. Guys got room. So let's see what else we got. Liam says, hey Eric, hey, how's it going? Let's see. Abtaz says, sorry, it's my first time doing ASO, so I didn't know what to do with the XD. No problem. Thing I tried to maze in the title, but I'm getting no downloads. That's for all down. Try different things. Go in and try different keywords. Try different stuff that people are searching on. So, users coming from Instagram, and I just recently changed this Think Simulator to test. Cool. Tech Guy, hey, how's it going? Tech Guy, hey. Jeff King says, can you take a look at my app, Battle Royale Warzone, Red Zone, Android Studios for Android? Okay, we're going to do this. This will be the last one. Oh, after Spaceman. Spaceman's, this time for sure. Spaceman's question is the last one. Because I'm getting hungry. I didn't eat any lunch today. That's my problem. And you know what? I rarely say that in my life. I skipped lunch today. That's not something Eric really does. Okay, Battle Royale, Warzone. Let's see. Okay, so we've got Battle Royale Warzone. Is that the right one? Battle Royale by Red Zone Studios. Okay, so this is for Jeff King. All right, so we've got the graphics look pretty cool over here on the screenshots. Battle Royale Warzone. The icon just seems to be inconsistent with the rest of it, but that depends. I think it depends on how we're ranking in terms of search. So we released our first, so the last update, current version 0.23 was earlier this week. You have in-app purchases up to $54.99, Jeff. Gosh. So I need to have, I was thinking about this before. Recently I raised my in-app purchases. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent because that's what I do. I raised my in-app purchases up to from $2.99 to $4.99. So actually quite a big hike, and I'm still doing pretty well on it. Less downloads. I mean, it didn't increase the revenue, but it kept. I mean, the revenue stayed about the same, so which is cool. But I should try the $54.99. Just see if anybody. I mean, whoever bought the $54.99 one, it would be like. I just keep thinking they would be so pissed off. Like they would just be like immediately want a refund. I mean, I would. So I said yesterday it was $2.99. Today it's $54.99. Anyway, but it must be pretty good. So let's see. Let's take a look at Battle Royale Warzone. And we'll have a look at just the ASO thing over here. So we're Red Zone Studio. So you do have it on iOS and Android. You have different icons on both. But we're looking at Google Play, right? Okay, so Android, iOS, not getting a lot of downloads. Paying $20 per day right now for ads. Thanks. So, oh, love this channel. Hey, thanks, Jeff. Jeff, I would say, yeah, don't. If the ads aren't working, turn them off and then have a look at it again, because if you're not getting the downloads through on the ads, then don't. So let's go to ASO. It's almost like you need to put like a small amount in, and I've done the same thing. We've had an ad out there on Facebook for last couple of weeks. I was paying £20 a day, and what I should have been doing was paying £5 a day and watching the click-through rate, right? So just make sure, so we tweak a little bit, but I was like, it's lazy. I know it is, but it's like doing like a small amount and then watching the conversion rate as opposed to putting a bunch in and just seeing a few trickle through, because once you get the conversion rate right, then you can start pumping money into it. So Warzone. So you're not ranking for a whole lot here. Let's go to US. But if you're using ads, and if you do have that kind of budget where you spend $20 a day, I would say hopefully you're doing the video. Let's have a quick look at the video here, because it's good that you have one. This is really cool. So yeah, I would say, I don't, for me, have you tried, so Jeff, have you tried different, someone said maybe I need a new icon. See, Jeff, I keep going back to the icon thing too, but it's like, it's what I would do is run a Google Play experiments on the icon. So try some different ones to see how it works. It's almost, just because it contrasts so much with the rest of it. It's almost like the app is actually pretty involved. You've got a lot of stuff in there, but the icon makes it look, it's almost like, I think the icon is letting you down. And then we also have to look at the search terms. So what are we actually, so you're not ranking for anything yet. And that's one of the things too. So what kind of game is this called? Is it top down? It's top down. There's a phrase for this, right? So there's something like there you could put in there. And hopefully if you're running ads, I would hope that you're using some stuff from the video, so something that people can go through, and if they know that's a type of game that they like. So if you were going to do an ad, let's say you're going to do a Facebook ad, and it all depends on whether or not you can afford the Facebook ad. If you're getting the cost per user down on that, it's a case of whether or not you could target people who like other games that are similar. And that way, at least you can get that in front of them, and then try to see how well that converts with that ad. So, I think ads are one of these things where you have to constantly tweak them. Spaceman says, "What do you think about React Native Web?" I have not used it. We did a React Native app where we converted it to PWA just recently, and I was looking at React Native Web, but it was something that I did not go for. I mean, it seems like, and mainly because I couldn't find a whole lot of documentation on it. Maybe I should have tried a little bit harder, but it seemed kind of strange to me that we have React, and then React Native, and then we have React Native Web. So you got one that's web, and then one that's mobile, and then one that takes the mobile and says it back to web. It's like, almost, why don't you just go back to React? But let's see. Elias Sierra says, "Hey Eric." Elias Sierra says, "Hey Eric, question for you. From idea to deployment and start generating revenue, how much time on average does it take you and your team?" It really depends on the application. A lot of times, if it's one of our own apps, it's much faster. And just because we can make the decisions like that. If we're doing it for a client, sometimes it takes a bit longer. And in terms of start generating revenue, it doesn't take that long to start generating revenue. It's just significant revenue that takes a while to do. So how do we get it in front of people, and how do we get something out there? Jesse says, "What's your favorite beverage when you're coding?" It's probably just coffee. I think it's just like I just mindlessly go get coffee, and then I just sit here drinking coffee, and it just gets cold as I'm drinking it. Just black coffee, and occasionally I just grab a Coke or something. And but you know, like when you're in the zone, you kind of forget that it's even sitting there. Even though I have this cold coffee here in front of me, because I forgot I made it right before the live stream. Techno Joe's. Did I forget to share my screen? Okay, we're gonna go back to this and do this again for Jeff. So Jeff, Battle War was on. So sorry about that. I was not doing that. So if you're doing 5 pounds on the thing, so this is the Battle Royale Warzone. I think the icon is letting it down. A lot of this stuff there. Sorry everybody. Sometimes this is why I need a moderator so to help me out with all this kind of stuff. So. So sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out, Techno Joe. I need to scroll down to the bottom there. So anyway, so that's the end. I think I've answered everybody's questions. If I have not answered your question, speak now or forever hold your peace. And that would be it. So thank you everyone for joining the live stream. Sorry I messed up by not showing the screen there. Man. So there was one time where somebody asked me to take a look at their app, and I did. So I started going through this app saying, okay, you should change this, you should change this. And at the bottom of the chat, he was saying, that's not my app. It's a different app. And he goes, I'm so sorry. I spent like 10 minutes talking about this other app that nobody even done anything with. So anyway, so thank you everybody for that. And sorry you couldn't see the screen. And but yeah, this is it, Battle Royale, and it's a pretty cool application. For those of you who have, and again, for those who like this type of game, it's got some pretty good graphics. I think the graphics look pretty cool. As I look at this, I think this would actually be kind of fun to play. But by looking at the icon here, I don't quite get it. So that's one where. And again, I'm not saying the icon is bad. Maybe the icon is good, but I would say run a Google Play experiment and see if you could get that changed. So especially if you got people coming in through the ad, and if you're spending something like that, you definitely, if you're running ads and you're spending money on it and you're not getting anything through within a few days, it's almost like if you have a tap, or like you're fixing plumbing and there's a leak. You don't just turn it on full blast and try to fix the leak while it's going there. You turn it on and find out, oh, it's still leaking, and you turn it back down. Then you fix it and turn it up a little bit gradually, and see if it's going through. And because if you do have something where you're spending a large amount of money, I've heard people say, they've had like a huge marketing budget, but they don't test it in small drips first to find out if everything's working. So again, Jeff, sorry about not showing the screen. God. All right. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much for joining the live stream today. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We came back to it. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the daily video, and I'll talk to you guys next week on the live stream. Have a good weekend. Bye.